Thank you very much for your presence here. I'm Rita Silva. I'm the Portuguese NPC for Eureka, and I'm also NCP for the European Innovation Ecosystems. So I'm a colleague of some of you. I was not able to be yesterday at the training that happened because I'm captured by Eureka, by the Portuguese presidency of Eureka during 1 year. But I hope to get to know you all, NCP colleagues, in the next days. So we thought we would organize this workshop here today, bringing together NCPs from the Eic programs and also national project coordinators from Eureka and all the companies, SMEs. So we want to introduce the programs, both from the Eic and from Eureka, which are most focused on SMEs, on funding SMEs and R&D in SMEs. And we want to introduce what are the opportunities of funding along the innovation chain in both programs. So we will focus perhaps a bit more on Eurostars in Eureka. We are very happy that we had the Innovative SMEs partnership approved and the grant is being signed, up for signing now. So we're very happy, we are celebrating that. We also are taking the opportunity here to introduce Innoid. Innoid will be one of the instruments of the Innovative SMEs European Partnership. It will be an instrument very important for SMEs to access third countries' markets. So it will fund viability market viability projects in third countries. So pay attention to the opportunities that are coming. The first call will be open in the second semester of 2022. And of course, we will also like to discuss or start discussing how to prepare in the future Eurostars projects to the fast track to the accelerator. So several opportunities here to pay attention to, and for us to help our SMEs to obtain funding in the future. So I will start by asking to come to the stage Gabriel Martin from the Eureka Secretariat. Hello, Gabriel, can you come? He will be introducing Eureka, although probably you have heard a lot about Eureka today. And I will call Keith Sequeira from the Eic. He will be introducing the Eic programs. So, yes, sure. So I will hand over the mic to you, Gabriel, please.
Thank you, Rita. Good afternoon to everyone. I'm going to make a short presentation about what Eureka is, and I'm going to give an overview of the different instruments that we have with a special focus on Innoid. My colleague Isabel will speak about that a bit later, but especially Eurostars. I'm going to start with some passing the slides. Sorry. Okay, so Eureka is an intergovernmental network of countries. We have been running since 1985, and since then we have managed to fund thousands of companies around the world and thousands of R&D projects. We started as a small network, but we keep growing. We keep growing so much that actually this slide that you can see behind you is outdated as of this morning. Canada and South Korea became full members and opened a new era where Eureka will be more and more global. Basically, what Eureka is a tool, it's a platform where ministries, innovation agencies from around the world come together and cooperate and open the door for companies on their countries to cooperate with companies and universities from other countries. As I have mentioned, most of our programs are focused on SMEs. Around 60% of the participants that we fund in our programs are SMEs, but in many cases we have projects that we fund where the SMEs find that they will need a university in the project, or they will need a research organization to do or to carry out the activities that they cannot do by themselves. So it's about international collaboration led by SMEs. We have, throughout the different programs, different criteria and different requirements, but we have a set of pillars, of common requirements that are common to all the instruments. All the projects must have a civilian purpose. All the projects must be about international cooperation to one extent or to other. It doesn't matter. It can be 2 partners. It can be 15 partners, like the case of the clusters. It can be one company with one local subcontractor or partner in a third country, but not a single Eureka project is done alone. And of course, we have all our projects are market-oriented, so the goal of a Eureka project must be to bring a product, a process, or a service to the market. Sorry, I'm having some problems with the slides, and I can only see them behind me. No problem, it's quite close to me. Sure, yes. Okay, so, yes. So here is a brief overview of the different instruments that we have. The network projects was the original instrument of Eureka. It's a very flexible instrument, and this is a scheme that allows different countries to come together to decide if they want to have a call with a geographical scope or with a thematic scope. This was the instrument that we use, for example, to run calls after the pandemic started. So we have a couple of calls of network projects focused on this topic. We have the Global Stars program. This is the instrument that Eureka uses to collaborate with countries outside the network, and in many cases is a first step of a country to join the network. We have the success story recently of Singapore. They did a couple of Global Stars calls. They were satisfied with the results, and they recently joined Eureka. We have the clusters, which are large, mixed consortia of large companies and public authorities. They are thematic, so they are focused on a specific topic, but in many cases we have seen more and more how they come together to implement joint calls and to joint efforts. We have Eurostars. This is a flagship program of Eureka. It's a program that has been implemented jointly with the European Commission since 2008. Since that year, we have run 2 calls per year without interruption, and the program has grown a lot, and we think that this continuity that we have given to Eurostars is one of the key elements of success. This is, as I said, a program co-funded by Horizon Europe, and we have some special requirements for this. There must be at least 2 partners from 2 different Eurostars countries. One of the partners must be from EU member states or associated country. We started already the calls of Eurostars 3, which is the 3rd iteration of the program, in September, and so far it's been quite a success. We have managed to keep the same number of applicants, and we aim to keep this program running at least until 2027. We have also Innowide. I'm not going to talk much about this because my colleague Isabel, as I said, will present again the program a bit later. And we have the investment readiness program that my colleague Emma Fau presented in the previous session, and that is basically the organization of activities where we bring together the corporates, the large companies, and SMEs to see how can they cooperate not only with funding, but also with business development opportunities. So I think in the context of this workshop, the 2 most relevant programs are Eurostars and Innowide, because those are the ones that we implement with the participation of the European Commission, well, in this case from ESMA, from the agency. And yes, I hope that today we'll have very good discussions about how the Eureka programs and the activities offered by the European Innovation Council can thrive. I can find the synergies, and hopefully how, at the end of the day, how we can provide a better support to companies. Because that's the reason why we are here and why we are presenting this, this slide. Thank you.
Good afternoon or good evening to everyone. I know it's been quite a long day, very eventful day, so it's great to see so many people here for this session. I'd like to thank the organizers as well, because I think it's a really good moment to talk about the complementarity between the European Innovation Council and the Eureka, the Eurostars inner-wide schemes. But it's also, I mean, what I hope is this is the start of building bridges between the two, because I think there's a real potential there, particularly with the fast track, which I'll come on to. And I think we have later Laurent from the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, where we've already started this approach. Let me just see if I'm going to get to the slides. Yeah, no, it's just that I'm not sure if it's a different presentation that needs to be... Sorry, we're just, I think, uploading the slides, because this is the... Otherwise, I'll have to present the same slides as the last speaker, which will be less... Great. Yeah. So what is the European Innovation Council? It's a big new element of the Horizon Europe program. I've been working on European research innovation programs for about 20 years now, and I think this is the biggest innovation in how Europe funds research and innovation over that time period, and I include the European Research Council in that. So there's a budget of just over 10 billion for the next 7-year period, so it's about 1.5 billion euros a year. We think it's unique in the world because it's doing very early stage research, testing the proof, testing the limits of new technologies, a bit like the DARPA approach in the US, but it's combining that with an accelerator for startups, spin-outs, and it's trying to integrate this research phase, and it's going right from very fundamental research to the market, to scaling up with equity, and we think this is quite a unique approach. We've been making some mistakes along the way, but we see that it's really getting traction. We'll publish next week a big evaluation we did of the pilot phase, and it's pretty positive, the evaluation. There's some recommendations of what we can do better. But overall, I think this is really, especially at the moment, you see a big downturn in VC investments. We think it's becoming increasingly relevant. So it's putting the European Union as a big deep tech investor. We think we'll be investing in companies around 3.5 billion euros over the next 7 years. So as an early stage deep tech investor, I mean, this is a really important addition to the European landscape. We're trying to get this as part of the ecosystem. We're partnering with the European Institute of Innovation and Technology. We're partnering with the European Research Council to pull through breakthrough science into technology. And I haven't put on, but I hope very soon I can put on this slide the partnering with Eureka and Eurostars as well. We're putting innovators at the center, so we have a board of innovators that are helping us. These are VCs, these are entrepreneurs, these are researchers, these are people who are building innovation ecosystems. We have a different approach to implementation. We're trying to move away from the classical administrative approach where we check forms and we outsource the expertise to have in-house program managers with high-level expertise that can really engage with projects, engage with companies, push them, get them to compete, maybe get them to pivot. And it's a very new approach to our engagement with the projects and companies. And as I just mentioned, we've been building this up over a few years. We've had a pilot phase since 2018, and it builds on predecessor programs like the SME instrument and the Future and Emerging Technologies program. So I mentioned it's covering all of the levels. So just, we've simplified it into 3 instruments. We have the Pathfinder, which is looking at where are the breakthrough ideas from the research base coming from. So we're funding around 100 projects here a year in a wide range of technologies, and this is where the program managers are particularly active. We introduced last year what we're calling transition funding, because we saw that there was a gap between the kind of research results, the proof of concept in the lab, and actually having a viable technology with a business plan to get the accelerator. So we positioned this as a follow-up to ERC proof of concept, and also Pathfinder projects, and we had our first calls last year, and a lot of demand for this. And then the big instrument, which is over 1 billion a year, is the accelerator, which is, I think, the most relevant for today. It's targeting SMEs, particularly particularly startups. We have the board that I mentioned. It was appointed last year. They'll be putting out a statement tomorrow about what they see as the strategic goals for the EIC and some of the key KPIs, and they're focusing on things like operational excellence. They think we've got a great product, but the operations are not there yet. So you'll see that, I think, published tomorrow. So just a bit more about the accelerator to position this with the Eurostars scheme. It's a single company scheme. So it doesn't fund collaborations. A lot of the reason for that is a lot of it's equity-based, so we need a company to invest in. It's focusing on disruptive innovation, so we're looking particularly at deep tech, things which were not covered very well in previous research programs, things that can move pretty fast. We're focusing a lot on startups. Most of the companies we fund, we have a lot of companies, less than 10 employees, less than 5 years in existence. So this is quite a shift from the previous SME instrument that was doing more, more small companies that were around for longer. So this is really pivoting towards an instrument for startups. It's not exclusive to startups, but that's the main target audience. And it's a European-wide competition, so all of the EU member states, all of the associated countries, excellence-based. We pick the best companies. It's not we, it's investors, it's entrepreneurs, it's experts. And we've reformed the application system so a company can apply at any time from any place in almost any area of technology. We don't fund military, we don't fund human cloning and things like that, but we fund most other things. So what do you get? We give the main product now is what we're calling blended finance. So this is a grant component up to 2.5 million euros, but we're mostly now giving equity investments as well. So we're able to go up to 15 million euros, from 500,000 to 15 million. We have companies in that full range, and we've opened up the possibility this year to go above 15 million if it's a really strategic case for Europe. We're also offering a grant first instrument, which is proved quite popular, and this is where it's an early stage technology. You can't really get the investment yet, but the idea is that during the project implementation, if certain milestones are reached, there can be immediately a follow-up investment from the equity part. And we're also offering grant only. So these are really for companies that have other sources of finance for scaling up, and the grant funding is there to develop the technology. It's not just about the funding. We're also building a suite of business acceleration services, also the corporate days that you heard earlier about, coaching, mentoring, and working with partners to do this. So, I mean, one of the things we're doing with the EIT is to see which of those services can be relevant to EIC companies and make it very easy to access those. The Eic Fund, this was a big novelty. We established it in 2019. It started operations really in 2020. In 2020, it made around 140 investments of over 650 million. So to our knowledge, there's no other VC fund in the world that has made that many investments at that scale in its first year of operations. It's targeting this funding gap where it's difficult for private investors to go alone, but we're trying to leverage private investors in. We don't want to go in solo. We are able to finance companies when it's only us, but the aim is always to get other co-investors to come in and really to bridge the gap for a company to be purely privately funded. It's patient capital. We'll go up to, you'll see there, we can go up to 7, 10, 15 years. We know that's important for deep tech. As I mentioned, the ticket size is around 500,000 to 15 million. A lot of it is seed, but we go Series A, B, sometimes a bit later. We allow follow-on capital. We're targeting minority shares. I think we're normally around 10% this kind of level. We don't want to be the mainstream investors in the company. As I mentioned, I mean, we're starting to build experience. It's a very new area for us doing investments, and we're building up, I think, quite a lot of experience. We're not quite there with Horizon Europe, Eic Fund. We've had delays. We had our first big investment last week, and we think there's going to be a whole set of other investments taking place over the summer. So just I wanted to just tell you about how it works now. So a company can apply at any time. In fact, from anywhere in the world. You don't actually have to be based in Europe to do this. It's a very short application form. It's a few questions. It's a video pitch. It's a slide deck. And we look at it immediately. We send it to 4 experts matched to the area. and within a few weeks you get an answer, or the company gets an answer, which is a simple go, no go. If it's no go, there's comments, there's feedback. If it's a go, you get the ticket to go to the full application stage. We provide access to business coaching services to do that. And then about 3-4 times a year, we have cut-off dates. There was one last week. This is for the full applications. It's quite a heavy application process. We do need quite a lot of information because we're looking at the equity investment, not just the grant part. We will send those to 3 external evaluators. They will look at it against the criteria. And then for the companies passing that stage, there is a jury phase, which is face-to-face interviews. This all happens relatively quickly. It's within about 4 to 6 weeks from the application stage. We'll do the interviews after about 2 months. And then again, the jury takes a simple go, no-go decision. And the companies that get a go will then move to the grants and the financing phases. We also offer seals of excellence to certify very good companies that didn't get the funding but really deserve funding from other sources. And we have a second chance policy that all companies can come back with improvements. And when they come back with improvements, we will focus really on those improvements. Just to give a bit of data on the experience, we've been receiving, you'll see at the beginning we had quite a rush. We had, this is the average monthly data, so right at the beginning we were getting 700-800 short applications. It's stabilized at around 300 per month at the moment, and you'll see there we're very proud of our time to inform. So you see there 16 days, so 16 days between sending the application and getting the result. On the full applications last year, we had just under 2,000. We invited, I think, a bit over 300 to the interviews, and there's 164 that are funded there, and you'll see that they're mostly blended finance. The total funding is close to 1 billion that was allocated, and we're starting those payments now. And you'll see there's quite a range of countries covered. We had our first funding round in March this year. You'll see the results of it there. We selected 74 companies to be funded. We did 250 interviews. I mean, the quality is really good. We had our second cut-off last week. We had close to 1,000 applications as well, so we see that there's a real demand for this kind of funding, and the results will be out in September, October. So just the other things that are going on, there's a final cut-off this year in October. We're planning cut-offs in 23, starting in January every 3 months. We're really focusing on simplifications. We think a lot of the forms are too complex now. We need to really simplify them down. We're in an ongoing process of restructuring the Eic Fund so it can actually be sustainable over the next 7 years and longer. There's some specific elements about scale-up. I think that's one of the big things that we're targeting in the EIC. And also women-led companies, female founders, there's some initiatives. And then 2 new things which are very important is to build the synergies with national programs. So some of this is the seal of excellence, where national programs can fund companies that have come to us. But then the other way around with what we're calling the plug-in scheme, where companies that have been supported through national programs can be certified to come to the EIC. And then with other EU-funded initiatives. So we have, in particular, what we're calling the Fast Track scheme. So this is, again, where we see with other European initiatives, if they're funding companies, we can use their assessment of how good these companies are to fast-track them into the EIC accelerator. So we've done this we've started with the EIT kicks. We're looking at doing it internally with companies coming from the transition and the Pathfinder schemes. And we're very much looking forward to seeing how we can put this into operation with Eurostars. And from our side, I mean, very happy to see how to do that and hoping that can come on stream as a very concrete bridge between EIC and Eureka. Thank you.
I think we have an... Just 1 second, because we still have one presentation.
And that will be very fast.
And then we can have a very quick round of... I'm sorry, because I forgot to introduce Alessandro.
Okay, we stay here.
Yes, you stay here. He's going to introduce access to the Eic project. So Alessandro, please go ahead.
Yeah, okay. You hear me? I wait for the slide. Not only I'm not Alessandro, not only I'm not Valentina, who is supposed to present today. No worries, no worries. I'm the substitute of the substitute here, so please don't kill the messenger. So this is Angelo from FSG Vienna, and I have the honor and pleasure to substitute Valentina Fioroni from Apre, Italy, presenting the project. So we wanted just because, apropos, talking about bridges and mixing in European. So an Italian working for Vienna representing another one. So very briefly, we wanted here, half of the room I think know very well what I'm talking about, but I hope for the other half of the room this will be interesting. Who we are, what we are doing. So we are a European project. We are the European project for the national contact points for EIC. So whatever so nicely Keith presented, it's our job to do it, in a way. We are the operative arm of the Commission to be the first level of support for the community in Europe for the applicants. This is, as I said, it's a CSA, it's a project who started this year. In February, is 7 years long, and it's the continuation actually of the similar project we had in the previous framework program where we were supporting companies in the SME instrument before. We are a big consortium, yeah, 7 years and 16 partners. I don't mention anybody, not to forget anybody. These are all the partners you can see. I hope everybody can see himself there. We are 16 institutions in Europe. And that's why we try to cover as much as possible geographically all the possible applicants. And we work together to do what again? Basically, we help applicants to get, at the end, a better proposal. So we inform them, we tell them there is this opportunity, and we try to help them to get fit for the application and possibly winning this funding. I will not really go into too many details also because we don't have maybe much time and they're not my slides. So in a nutshell, what do we do? First, in this project, the target is to improve ourselves. Okay? So we are also a project, we want to learn, and there are so many novelties, as we heard, that also we need to learn and be fit to be updated on all the novelties from the IC and be able to help the others to get this funding. So the first things we do is we network with each other, and we try to share our experience and to improve ourselves and give a better service to the applicant to get the funding. And, oops, sorry. The other point is to identify good practice. So this is also what we want to do. We want to not to leave the applicants alone. So we want to be the first door where they go, and they can ask us whatever they need, because they hear somewhere there is the CIC, what it is, how can I get it, is it for me? This is also very important things that we do. We try to see if this company is fitting for the purpose here. We have 5 concrete objectives. I'm trying to summarize this. What I wanted to underline here is also that we want to identify synergies. Another reason why we are here, because of course EIC is one part of the ecosystem. We know EIC, EIE is the most direct program, which is the same of it. We know about Eurostars, the fast track scheme, etc. So you know the jungle of opportunity that we have. It's specifically one of our goals in this project as NCP to connect with NPC, if I'm right, for Eurostars to other stakeholders. And another big part that we are always involved in, it's also learning the novelty, is about, for example, the EIC now is a big family. Before it was the FET and the SME instrument. We have the academic community and then the SME community. Everything is coming together here. So we are actually training ourselves to address the whole spectrum, from the researcher to the business guy who wants to found a startup, to the mature company, to the biggest novelty that Keith already said is the Eic Fund. So we are going from the basic research to venture capitalist. As you can see, this is quite challenging, also for us, but this is why we need this project. This is what we are trying to achieve in this project. Technically speaking, we have 4 things practically we do. We train ourselves, as I said. We meet together to develop toolbox. So we want to give applicants concrete things, guidelines, instrument, anything that they can be really helpful for the applicants. Synergies, this is what we are doing today. We try to look to the others and be complementary. So as I think was very well said, this is an ecosystem. So without this ecosystem, the innovation will never really happen, and we are part of this ecosystem. Last but not least, the financial instruments. So as you see, this novelty goes much more in investment, not only this traditional grant. Most of us are grant funding agencies. And we are now confronted to the problem of jumping in another world, which is the one of investment, venture capital, even more, Series A, Series B. We basically follow the company from the idea until they're really mature. And that's why we do this. A bit of social presence, so if anyone is curious, we have a social channel here. And last but not least, the real presenter who should be here. It's quite different from me, but she's the coordinator, so as a first point of contact, you can also refer to Valentina. And from Valentina, Alessandro, Angelo, I can give it over.
Alessandro, Angelo. Thank you so much, Angelo, and I'm so sorry for having baptized you with another name. I'm very bad with names, but I will not make the same mistake again. So, sorry. Let's open then the floor, but 2 questions at the most, so that we don't delay too much the session. Okay. So you wanted to no, but don't take that away from me. Yeah.
One for the question.
Yeah, one. Ah, okay. Yes, it is. There. Yeah. I thought he was taking it.
Hello? Okay, it's working. I have a question because with the agreement today that access to the European Innovation Council funding and I don't know what is the relation with the Eureka. Are those countries associated and being members of the Eureka, that means they are eligible for the European Innovation Council funds from today, or this is still to be decided?
You want to clarify?
So this was a question about whether Ukraine is associated, is eligible for the EIC. Is this, so just to understand?
No, because Eureka has a bigger network of countries.
Okay.
That's the case.
No, so it's a bit different. So for the EIC, it's under the Horizon rules. So, I mean, I know that Eurostars goes beyond that, but so we cover all EU member states, we cover the associated countries, and last week we associated Ukraine. So Ukraine is now fully eligible for the EIC. But if it's from a country that is not a associated country to Horizon, being in Eureka doesn't give access to the EIC.
Yes.
That's one.
Thank you for the presentation. Jens Peter Wittrup from Innovation Fund Denmark. Most people here knows me as the guy with Eurostars, but actually and honestly, I'm covering some 20-25 other EU programs as well, so I'm all over the plate. I'm very happy with your initiative with the plug-in scheme. We have also forwarded our scheme and has been accepted. Then, of course, you mentioned the fast track scheme, which covers other programs, not just Eurostars, by the way. And that is really nice for me to hear. And you mentioned the kicks, but does that kicks usually came from Horizon 2020, and most of the partners there are not really in place for Horizon Europe. So I just wonder, fast track that's also for Horizon 2020 SMEs who has participated in such international projects and programs. Thank you.
Yeah, it's for Horizon 2020, and at the moment, of course, it's all projects. So the basic difference is the fast track is for something that's already been funded by Horizon, which includes Horizon 2020. And the idea there is that, you know, we already know directly from an EU body, which can be the EIT as well, whereas the plug-in is for national programs.
Right.
But for the fast track, it applies to projects that were funded with Horizon 2020 funding, so it can be Eurostars 2 as well, for example.
Thank you, because then you have to make a correction to your colleagues, because we have told differently. Thank you.
Okay, well, I hope I got it right.
Okay, so thank you very much, Keith and Gabrielle. We will move on to the next panel. And we will have now Christian Frey. He will be moderating. And we will have 3 companies which have been both beneficiaries of Eurostars projects and SME Instrument Phase 2 or or the accelerators. So we will call Pedro Pinto from Fiber Sale. It's a Portuguese company. We will have Doris Schnepf from,
Green for Cities.
Green for Cities, yes, sorry, because I had the names here. And finally, Simon Dirks from Germany. So Green for Cities from Austria, Simon Dirks from Germany, from Green Cities Solutions. So Christian, go ahead.
I will do. I think the microphone works. So thanks a lot for the introduction. Thanks a lot, Rita. Yes, so we are here again and follow up the theme we had on building bridges, and that's why I invited those three companies. So thanks for being here, thanks for being on site. On the bridges between Eurostars projects, successful Eurostars project participation, and EIC, the thing that Keith talked about, or the predecessor, which was the SME instrument. So, Doris, I would like to start with you. So you're the co-founder and CEO of Green for Cities, which is a landscape architecture engineering company adapting urban areas to climate change with diverse possibilities. Would you please introduce yourself, your projects, and then talk about the projects you were involved in Eurostars and what you tried to get funding at the SM instrument?
You can have this.
Yeah, we are a small SME, a landscape company. We have like two parts, a normal planning company and a research department. We have just 18 members, 18 employees, so we're really a small SME. Because when we started with our work, a lot of technology did not exist at the market or did not really work very well at the market. So we had the necessity to develop some new market-based technologies that would better work than the existing ones. And that's the reason why we applied to several Eurostars projects that we won already. For example, the Green Skin project, which is a building integrated facade solution. Or now we are currently running a project that is called Coolways. It's a pavement system, an adiabatic cooling pavement system. For areas where you cannot plant trees or something. And we had another, but in my former life, another, an irrigation project. So we were quite successful, not always the first time, but the second time we always have been successful at Eurostars.
That's what Keith pointed out. I mean, everybody gets a second chance.
Yeah, specifically when you start, when it's the first time you apply, and you have to learn this new world of, because it's an own new world, this funding program world, when you're an SME. And we tried to apply with two project ideas, twice, for each project idea for the SME instrument, and we did not win. But we reached that certification state.
The seal of excellence, yes.
So we passed the threshold, but we were not even invited to the interviews.
But what do you think were the reasons for that? I mean, you said you're multiple beneficiary to Eurostars project, so being very innovative, being in a very new area. So what was it all about? So I mean, it's interesting to learn from your experience too, because we do have others that made it. Perhaps we can work out the differences here.
Yeah, maybe the third time would work when I apply.
We'll give it a try.
Yeah, well, I would not exclude the possibility that I was just not good enough to write the proposal. I mean, it's highly competitive, way more competitive than the Eurostars, the EIC or the SME instrument. That is one point, because when you pass the threshold, normally, you would get funded probably in Eurostars, and it is not even, we were not even invited for the interviews in the second one. So you have to be much better, that's the one thing, much clearer, more focused, I think. That's the one thing. And the other point, maybe, I'm not sure if this is true, but I have the feeling that it's very focused on technology, on one specific technology. And if you have a process innovation also, or a combined technology and process, I think, in my feeling, the possibilities are not getting better.
Okay, so we heard some arguments now, and I would like to hand over now to Simon Dirks. He's the head of marketing of Green City Solutions, a born communicator from stating from your biography, also studied that, and he's working for Green City Solutions that is going to the Tacitum plant Moss as an integral part of dealing with adaptation to the climate change. So also you're in the position, you were Eurostars beneficiary, you are SME, or you were SME instrument beneficiary. So from your point of view, would you support what Doris just said, or do you have a different opinion on that?
First of all, hello everyone. It's nice to see you all here, and thank you for inviting me and us to the stage here. It's hard to answer this question because I don't know your proposal. But what you were mentioning regarding the technology, I think we were quite a good fit to the SME instrument, maybe to everyone. There was Horizon 2020, which was from 2013 to 2020, obviously. And now there's Horizon Europe, and some names have changed. I think that's quite confusing. But the SME instrument is now the EIC accelerator.
That's correct.
I think, yeah. So to make that clear, and we were funded out of the Horizon 2020 SME instrument phase 2, and that was very helpful because we had a product ready. What we do is we have a moss filter which can purify the air and cool down the air within cities. Just 10 seconds, trees have a hard time in cities because most of the ground is sealed, so there's no space for roots, for proper and sustainable growth of the trees. And a young tree does not have the impact that a 25-year-old tree has. So we want to be there in these areas in the city with an alternative solution, which is based on moss, so living moss supported through IoT technology. And we had a product ready in 2016, but it wasn't perfect. And then in 2018 we started the further development project out of the frame Horizon 2020, and it helps us a lot to kill the weaknesses of the product and develop it further in a way that now we are able to have projects, several projects all over Europe, and all the weaknesses are gone. Most of them. We still have some, but we're working on them, and I think that is why it was a great fit. So we had technology, we had a hardware, we had a software behind it, but not everything was matching so well or well enough for the market.
So Simon, going on to the Eurostar side of your company. So what were these projects, or what was this project all about, and where do you see the commonalities or the differences between the Horizon Europe project, so the SM instrument, and the Eurostars project?
So first of all, it's really hard to sum that up and to talk about that very briefly.
No pressure.
But the SME instrument, so the big project, was all about further development. We had an inactive system, and we changed that to an active system. That means that we now actively ventilate the air, so that we have an air flow which is flowing through the mosses, and we're not we're independent from wind conditions. That was a great improvement. We had built a bio-algorithm to ensure the moss vitality is great, because if the moss is feeling well, then it can do its magic. That was good, and we built up a moss farm because we cultivate all the mosses and the species ourselves. We don't take them from nature. That was the improvements in the SME instrument. So over 20 months, that was huge. We had help from certification was another part, from a scientific institution to measure the impact. The Eurostars project had a different angle because it was all about bringing two technologies together. We worked together with a project partner from England, Block Docs, and they are great in footfall data. And we wanted to have our MOS filters, let's say, on a busy marketplace, and we wanted to the MOS filter to be activated when a lot of people are around, because we want to be as energy efficient as possible, and we don't need to purify the air if no one's here to breathe it. And that was what the Eurostars project was all about, and maybe that is what is so specific about the Eurostars project, that we had a different technology readiness level, and we brought together two technologies with great impact for both of the companies. So BlockDocs told me that the company was able to reach seven different patents in Europe. Cool. And yeah, they had a new field they were working on, field of air quality, and they haven't.
So I'm sorry, we're a little running out of time, and still Pedro is waiting. But you think that one of the projects really fitted into the other. So in that respect, if I understood you right.
Yeah, that's out of my perspective, and my perspective is very limited because I just have this one. Yeah.
As it's yours. Okay, so thank you very much, Simon. Now going to Pedro Pinto, founder and CEO of FiberSail. He is very much at the competitive edge, being part of a 4-year sailing campaign as a national coach in the Beijing Olympics and in the London Olympics. So he knows what competition is all about. Serial entrepreneur with a passion for wind, energy, and data. So thanks for being here, Pedro. And also Seal of Excellence winner of the SM Instrument plus Eurostars beneficiary.
Exactly, and thank you for the invitation. Just going back a little bit, so I spent more or less, as I was saying, around 10 years of my life just in the waters of Cascais, coaching these competitive sailors into the Olympics. And my daily job was to understand what was the perfect shape of the sail so that the boat could go faster. And I started going into the research part, and with some universities, we developed a technology that could measure the shape of the sail. Going faster a little bit on this path, we started analyzing several problems in different industries, and that's when we found out that there was a bigger sail to be that had more problems, and it was the wind turbine blades that uses the wind to generate energy. These huge structures that are made of composites, they weigh tons of, and because they are made of composites, all of them are unique. And because of that, they need to be inspected every year. And they are having a lot of problems, and there was no technology to measure that. So that's what we are bringing to the market. In that phase, we applied for the SM Instrument, which we didn't get funded, but we got a Seal of Excellence, and that enabled us to apply to a Portuguese grant, which we got funded in a Portuguese grant, more or less almost the total fund that we were needing for that. And that opened us a lot of doors because we were able to start demonstrating the technology and develop proposition, and also it got the opportunity to get venture capital also. So we just closed 5 million round today. We are also working with companies at the edge of technology in terms of wind turbines, which is Siemens, which is Shell also, and some research partners in the Netherlands and Germany. So it helped us a lot just having the Seal of Excellence. Also in some other partnerships that we got with R&D partners, one of them in Spain, we got the idea with our technology and their experience on how to improve the lifetime of a wind turbine. We got an idea to develop and demonstrate something. Then we found out that the Eurostars grant was the perfect to fund both of us, our company. So we got funded for that, and it's still running. This is more or less the story of FiberSail.
Great. Thank you very much, Pedro. And I know we're very short on time, but I think for me it's also important to show the impact to your company. So if I may start with you, Doris, again, and ask the same question to all of you. So how did this grant impact your company, forthcoming of your company growth?
Well, super greatly, because we couldn't have developed our products. I mean, several of them. And we have founded, based on those Eurostars projects, 2 companies already as a daughter company from the Green for Cities. So if you take it all together, we have now like 50 employees, not just in the Green for Cities, and you have to think like that. So it was very important also, you know, like having the people, the researcher, giving them the vision to be possibly a founder or a CEO of an upcoming company. So it greatly impacted us, specifically the international angle from Eurostars.
And you still feel this effect, or is it
yeah,
diminishing?
sure. We are super. I mean, the Green Pass, which is an assessment tool for evaluating microclimate in the planning phase already, is growing super well now. And you know, you never know when you do a research project if it comes to a success, because we also have had developments that were not that successful. But that's the reason why there is research funding. That's the reason. So
great. It
greatly affected us, or I would say it's the reason of our company success at all, this research basis.
Perfect. That's what we'd like to hear. Okay, so may I hand over to you, Pedro?
Yeah, I mean, to fund the deep tech startups with technology that needs to be patented, and it's really difficult to get venture capital. So I mean, the grants make a lot of impact on companies like my company, that it would be really difficult to get just venture capital before proving the value proposition and get traction from the market. So the grants were a big support for us.
Okay, thank you very much. And Simon?
Yeah, same. I mentioned already the patents, which were great. So we were building up more assets, and it helped us for VC funding. We had a round afterwards, which was very helpful, obviously, and we had a solution which was market ready and good. Now we have a almost perfect solution, and we reached way more markets, and yeah, it helped us just like I said to create major improvements.
Okay, so I think time's over. Thank you very much, Simon, Pedro, and Doris, for these insights, and I think it's very positive. Don't forget how many employees you have, how many places of work you created, so that's worth a big round of applause. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Here it is, the opportunities that that companies have in both programs. I didn't quite understand if there is a sequence here, if Eurostars comes first and then moving on to the accelerator, or not necessarily. I didn't get if there is a logic here in the sequence of applications to each programs, but not necessarily, I guess. So TRL is a bit different. Eurostars collaborative research in consortia, and the SME instrument, now the accelerator, going solo for the funding, and much more competitive, I guess. Anyway, so here are the opportunities. Now we move on to introducing Eic, the new instrument that will be launched in September this year within the innovative SMEs. So I call to the stage Isabel de Vera from the Eureka Secretariat. And I will call also Pedro Lima from C4Us, if he's here. Yes, Pedro, hi. I hadn't met you before in person. Welcome. Pedro has been a beneficiary of the pilot of Innowide that was previously. So I'll leave you to get to know Innowide.
Thank you, Rita. Hello, everybody. I'm Isabel de Vera from the Eureka Secretariat. And I will present Innowide, which is a relatively new Eureka instrument. So it's one instrument that also supports SMEs in going global. It supports you in conducting market feasibility projects over a period of 6 months. These are short projects, and in cooperation with a local partner in your selected target country. So this is a flexible tool. It can help you to plan a future R&D project with your project partner in your target country. It can help you assess the requirements to enter that market, all the technical, market, legal, and socioeconomic requirements. And last but not least, it helps you understand whether your product, market, or service market combination could be commercialized in your selected target country. So what it offers exactly, it offers a 60,000 euros lump sum. So each beneficiary would receive a fixed grant of 60,000 euros. And the conditions for applying is you need to be an innovative SME established in EU member states or a country associated to Horizon Europe. This is a mono-beneficiary program, so the funding is for the SMEs in the EU member state or Horizon Europe associated country. And you can partner with an organization that you can subcontract to implement the project. So this new Eureka instrument is based on a pilot phase that ran 2 calls in 2019 and 2020. These 2 calls were very successful, were very popular, and it had a budget of 7.2 million euros to fund 120 SMEs. These companies targeted 34 different countries. The most popular were USA, India, and Brazil. And as I said, it proved to be very attractive and also added competitive advantage to these companies. So the good news is that the new Eureka Innowide has a bigger budget of 24 million euros to fund around 400 SMEs in the next 5 years. So 6 calls. The first one will be launched in September this year, and it will fund 50 projects. And this first call, up to 25 of those projects will involve a partner in Africa. So I would like to invite you all to encourage you to submit your application for Innowide. All the information will be published on our website. And now we have one of the beneficiaries from the pilot phase, Pedro Lima. Thank you very much for accepting the invitation and coming here today. So Pedro Lima is CEO and one of the founders of C4Us. This company, this is a biotechnology company from Portugal, from Sagres, specializing in the discovery and development of new drugs based on novel marine compounds for unmet clinical needs. And I would like to hand over now to Pedro Lima, who will present his company and his Innowide project. Thank you, Pedro.
Thank you. Thank you for still being here. I'm fine. Thank you. So we're going to shift the mood here. We're going to start talking about health and the sea. So we are interested in molecules that live inside animals like this one, and we'll develop them into pharmaceutical assets. We've been focused on chronic pain, which is a great and big global problem. But I'm here and I've been asked to talk about the InnoWide application, which helped us quite a lot in the feasibility study that I will talk about. In another sponge like this one, we find one other molecule that had a lot of potential to treat another chronic problem, which was related to chemotherapy. Chemotherapy induced chronic pain, which is a huge problem for cancers like breast cancer. Breast cancer can be treated with reasonable good rates of success with Taxol, but for the majority of the cases, successful cases, there's rise of a very serious neuropathic problem. It's tingles in the hands, problems in the limbs, pain, the burning sensation that lasts for a month, years, or sometimes forever. Now the problem here is that the doctors always afraid to prescribe the Taxol percentage that they want to, or what the tumor demands. So it is a dose-limiting problem here. So this dose-limiting problem here is responsible for a relatively increase in the rate of tumor recurrences. So it is a big global problem, a very serious health problem. And we found in one of these molecules, in one of these animals, this is an animal, by the way, it doesn't look like it, but it's an animal, and a molecule that when co-treated with Taxol, co-applied it, we didn't have a problem. Most importantly, the molecule was very similar to another one that was already approved by the FDA, is in the market, used for other purpose. That one, when co-applied with Taxol, the neuropathic pain never shows up. So we thought, well, potentially this is great. We need to see how translational, how this translates to humans, obviously. So we need to do a feasibility study. So that's where InnoWide starts and enters. We applied for that, and we aim to do a feasibility study to see if this had potential. The potential was really there. So we team up with experts from the US, but also from Europe, and we managed to see in the context of IP if there was. We've done a study of patentability, a freedom to operate. There was a go there, and we assessed the market to see if that need has a resonation in the real market interest. And there was. We also visit regulatory affairs, but in the end, what was also very nice was to design key experiments, key research experiments that would allow us to have a scientific go, no go. And that's where we are now. At the moment, we can say in a de-risked way, which is very important, yes, we can and we should take this further. So this is the output of InnoWide, and thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pedro. Very quickly, because I think we don't have much time. Just one quick question. How and why did you choose your target market, USA, and your partner?
United States is a huge market. The problem that we're visiting is particularly important. Chronic pains in the States have something on top, which is opioids. Opioids is a problem that adds up to a problem which is, for example, the one that I've described to you. And finally, the interests in terms of the market, the paclitaxel is the molecule behind Taxol, and it was invented in the States. So there was a perspective avenue already there. So the company may be interested on developing something that has an add-in that will save a very serious side effect to be out of their product.
Thank you. I don't know if there is any question from the audience. Otherwise, we move to the next round. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Isabel. Thank you, Pedro. So we move on to the next panel, where we will have a discussion that is being moderated by Alexandre Marques, my colleague. We are now discussing how to prepare Eurostars projects in the future to the fast track to the accelerator. So Alexandre Marques will be discussing with Laurent Roux from the Eic on also their experience with the kicks to the fast track to the accelerator.
Hello everyone, my name is Alexandre Marques. I'm from the National Innovation Agency, and as Kido already mentioned, we'll have fast track in the future for Eurostars projects. EIT kicks that are also partners, European partnerships already implemented it and have close collaboration with the EIC accelerator. So in this sense, we'll have Laurent Roux, that is the impact officer from EIT, and he will share with us what are the challenges implementing the fast track and what are the learnings that Eurostars can take from the fast track. So can you put online Laurent? Okay, Lauren, can you hear us?
Good evening, everybody. I hope you can hear me well. And really sorry I cannot be there in person today, because I understand you're having a very good conference and it should be nice to be in Portugal. I will just give you a bit of our experience as EIT and the KICS, working closely with actually the EIC and KIF's team on the fast track that we set up for our beneficiaries. And what are some of the lessons that you can use, and I will finish with also some general links and information about the EIT community as a whole and how you could get involved. Obviously, many of you in the audience today probably know we are more than 10 years old as EIT, and our KICS cover many regions, countries, and sectors, so you probably interacted with them in some capacity. So I will share my screen and this very short presentation I have for you today. So let me know if you see it, and I will put it in full screen.
Yes.
And we should be good to go. Great. So once again, very happy to be with you today. So the context for us, EIT and EIC, is that we have a very close collaboration for many years already, and this stems from a memorandum of understanding that we signed early 2021. Obviously, as I was saying, also we work very closely at all levels between the two organizations. So between obviously the two boards, maybe I should start with that, including last week we had a meeting of the EIT and EIC boards to discuss, including some of the lessons learned of the fast track, the collaboration so far, and also to look forward and have the board decide on that. Obviously, our two directors meet regularly because we are under the same pillar 3, and we have the same commissioner, and there we align the activities, the strategy. And then there are lots of also operational level contacts and work happening between the team at EIC, the KICS, and ourselves, and also more importantly, and I think more increasingly now, that also the team of EIC program managers has been increased. We are meeting, the KICS are meeting with their respective program managers to help them identify potential companies to build the pipeline into the EIC, to discuss also what is really the EIT looking for, how they can help companies, and then present obviously obviously some of the pipeline companies of EIT KICS. And the collaboration between EIT and EIC, obviously we have the fast track, and I'll get to it in a second, but it's much broader. So we really try to connect the two community of entrepreneurs, innovators. So some of the examples are listed here. I mean, we have a large community of EIT alumni, and recently many of these EIT alumni, I mean, in total is 14,000 members across Europe, but we had a batch of them, 15 of them that acted as mentors for some of the EIC most recent boot camps to help really early stage companies and entrepreneurs. We also have, and that's going to come more importantly in the future, we're going to have a joint Woman Prize Award that will combine the know-how and then also the funding of EIT and EIC to really award the most successful women entrepreneurs in Europe, and that will be coming in a couple of years. At the moment, we have each our own awards in that category, and already many success there. We are, I think Keith mentioned it in his presentation earlier, we are really also now trying to connect, to have the KICS provide acceleration services as part of the EIC Business Acceleration Services global offering. So for the beneficiary of the EIC, the KICS will be able to provide their services across Europe, and we just had some regular meetings recently to work on that. Obviously, again, we try to connect with the EIC Pathfinder and transition beneficiaries to bring them into the EIT community. So our calls are visible on the EIC community platform. We also work with the colleagues at EIC there in these particular programs to help them connect their pipeline this way into our community. We also have EIT as offices across Europe, obviously, but also outside of Europe. So at the moment, an office in Israel and an office in Silicon Valley. And there we are, if there is a need from EIC and other colleagues in the Commission working in the innovation space, we can provide support with our offices outside of Europe. And then there's a lot of range of other activities that we are building on between the two communities as we move forward. So now specifically on the fast track. So I think Keith mentioned it, but this fast track for EIT KICS to EIC Accelerator is active since last fall, since October 2021. All the KICS have been involved. So they've been vetted by EIC as fast track partners, meaning the processes they use to select companies and accelerate them have been deemed satisfactory for EIC. So far, KICS have provided a number of companies in the last few rounds of EIC Accelerator cutoff dates via the fast track mechanism. Limited number of them, to be honest, made it through the fast track scheme access in these last round of 2021 and first round of 2022. However, if we look at the whole number of companies that have been accepted into the EIC Accelerator, usually it's 20 to 30% of these companies that have been previously supported by EIT KICS. So they applied on their own after being at some point in time supported by KICS in the different sectors or geographies, and 20 or 30% of all the companies that get into the EIC Accelerator at the moment have been supported by KICS. So it shows the complementarity of the two instruments, also the quality of the pipeline of EIT KICS that can benefit also the EIC programs, and of course the company then get access to more funding and more support that they need to continue growing. Obviously, we are now working very closely with the EIC and also the KICS to submit more companies for the next cut-off dates. We have an EIT quota at the moment for the whole year. Keith has said that also to help us really focus the quality of the application into the EIC Accelerator. And then, of course, we are reviewing the results of these past cut-off dates. This is an exercise that we're doing at the moment for a few reasons. I mean, one is to improve the next submissions, to learn from these round of applications, to improve, obviously, the success rate of the company we are proposing to EIC Accelerator. It's also, I mean, from our side, I think what we have to do better, and the KICS do it, but they publish calls incentivize company to apply to the fast track from EIC, but we have to improve that as well. The visibility of this opportunity has to improve from our side, probably. And then we have to match better what the EIC is looking for. So I guess focusing, I think you heard it from Keith also, deep tech, non-bankable, focus on the team that's behind the startup or the scale-up, the commercialization strategy, all these intellectual property issues, and the aspect of grant plus equity that companies may be looking for. It has to match what EIC is ready to fund and has been set up to do so. So we will improve on that. And I think, in a way, our lesson learned and what we've done so far in terms of the fast track with EIC, I think is serving EIC to set up these fast track or similar scheme, the plug-in scheme, namely, that you heard also about today. So they are, we are happy to provide a lesson learned to help set up the next fast track like schemes for EIC. And my last slide is, just very briefly, just to make you aware of how you could get involved. Probably some of you in the audience, again, know how to, but others may be interested to know that the KICs, publishing all their opportunities on their website, on their social media channels. We also have now an online catalog of all the business creation activities that is updated once a year. So the KICs offer a really wide range of business creation services, from early stage to really Series A, Series B company. And all this information is available, again, on their website, newsletters, social media, lots of events also now. And, after COVID, we're all happy that we can meet in person. So KICs are doing that across Europe. We will also have later this year a series of events at the EIT community level. So it will be called, it's Innovate, but it will be a series of 10 events across Europe on different topics. So I invite you to also check the EIT website to know when this is happening. And obviously the KICs have their own offices, so probably an opportunity to interact there also to learn more about the KICs opportunities, and then potentially also be selected for the fast track to the EIC accelerator via the KICs. So that's all for now. Of course, I'm open to questions that you may have or remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. So we open the floor for questions. I don't know if, please.
I have a question. I don't have the
Maybe it's better.
Yeah. So you mentioned.
Can you hear us well?
I can hear. Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned that approximately 20 to 30% of those successful companies in the EIC accelerator were already supported by EIT KICs. So in what form were they supported? Were they part of the accelerator programs of the respective KICs?
Mostly, yes. I would say 90% of them were part of the accelerator. Of course, some of them also were innovation project partners of some KICs. So some examples with the EIT Food recently, but most of the companies that have been accepted in the EIC accelerator for the grant plus equity from the EIT KICs have been supported by KICs before in the accelerator part of the KICs. Or business creation services, because the business creation services are sometimes go beyond just acceleration. And again, the link is on the presentation. I'll probably share. You can check the catalog. It's a wide range of services that KICs can provide, different programs, and just going sometime beyond acceleration.
Thank you.
Any more questions from the audience? Angelo?
Hi, this is Angelo. Maybe an operative question. In the fast track, when you get this company applying then to go to the accelerator, do you have a complete internal selection system? Like EIT, every KICs is doing this? Do you open a kind of call? Do you invite them directly? How do you concretely do this?
Yes. Yeah, thank you for the question. It's a combination. So there is usually an internal call. So KICs review their portfolio of already supported startup and scale-ups, but also they publish very often, and that's at the request of EIC. So they publish an open call for a certain period of time, and then companies are capable of applying, and then they go through again a selection process within the KICs, and then they get put forward to EIC for consideration.
So do you have? Okay, please go ahead.
Hi, Thank you so much for the information. My question is related to the first one, in the sense that, well, it's not mandatory that you were previously part of a KIT program, right? So just to clarify that. It's not mandatory, it's just that it happens that 20-30% of the accelerators were in one of those programs, right?
Of course, of course. Yeah. There are many other companies that were not supported by KICS that have been accepted in Accelerator. And then also many of the companies that can apply to these KICS calls for the EIC Accelerator Fast Track were not supported by KICS before. So that's also a small proportion of those that go forward to the EIC Accelerator.
Just that increase the chances. So I just applied for
to,
climate, so cross my finger.
Yeah. It seems to because the KICS do a lot of work. I mean, on existing companies, so they get them ready not just for the EIC, obviously, but for all kind of investor. It just happens that this works very well with the EIC, and even for new companies that apply to KICS, they still can be put forward if they come in with a certain level of maturity, some fine-tuning in the application, and I think this is also what we're going to work on moving forward. Is we're going to try to really now match better also what the EIC is looking for to, I think, in the next fast track dates, and we'll be working with Keith and his team on that just to structure it so that the success rate increases as well.
Okay, if we have time, two more questions. When's the next call, and well. And if you can explain a little bit more about the EIC grant instrument or the grant or the blend, well, I think it's not time, but next call. And
yeah,
thank you.
Okay. I mean, the calls are, and Keith, I think, mentioned them, the dates, and the instrument itself is quite well described on their website. And the dates, there's a date coming up. There's a date in October as well. So I think all these dates are known for the EIC Accelerator admission for 2022, at least. It's known and visible on their website.
Well, we have like 8 KICs, so you can check all the 8 websites and looking for the opportunities to apply to EIT KICs and then to EIC Accelerator. Yeah.
You don't have to. You can apply directly to EIC Accelerator, but also on the EIT website, so just the umbrella website, we have a dedicated page for opportunities from all the KICs. So every time a KIC publishes a call for an innovation activity or business creation activity or education-related activity or this EIC fast track opportunity, that opportunity is automatically picked up from the KIC website and put on the single page on the EIT website. There's this opportunity page link that I put in my slide. So there you find everything, and then we relay this information also on our LinkedIn channels, Twitter channels. So I think there's, it would be difficult to miss, I think. If you're connected one way or another to the EIT community, you will see these opportunities appear.
Okay, thank you, Laura. And now I think we are a bit out of time, so it is time for the final remarks from Keith. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. I just need a microphone. So, no, that's been quite a session. We've covered a lot of ground. So many thanks to everyone. Maybe just a couple of reflections from my side at the end. I think the first thing is that, I've been working in innovation a long time as I studied it. I've been an investor. I've been working on the policy side. And for me, it's very clear that innovation comes in all kinds of shapes and sizes and pathways. So actually, what we're offering here is a kind of set of very, very interesting opportunities, and they will work for different companies in different ways. I was really struck by the examples because I think what we're doing with the EIC, we're doing a lot of de-risking the technology. What we see a lot is companies, they have a great technology, investors say, this is really interesting, but you need to prove that it works, and then we'll invest in it. And who's going to pay for proving that it works? Because some of this is quite expensive. So this is what we're doing a lot of on the EIC. What strikes me about some of the examples of the Eurostars is it's about complementary technologies. How can you put technologies from different companies together? And that's really important as well. So I think something that will be really good is to sort of work towards how these different instruments fit together. And I guess this is a really important role for the national contact points to get this information across to companies in a super easy way so they don't have to spend hours trying to understand all of our different information. So I think that was one takeaway. and the other was about, you know, this real opportunity we have about forming this direct bridge. It's one thing to kind of inform companies about the different opportunities and where they need to go, but I think the fast track is a real opportunity to provide a direct bridge that companies can be going without, you know, the companies actually having to do anything, because we can work from the funder side of saying, okay, this is a great company, we know it's a great company. From the EIC side, we can trust that judgment that's made by the national program, by the EIT kicks, and say, we don't have to go through this whole process again of finding out about this company. So I think this is a really big change. It's about interoperability between different programs. We're at the start of this process. As you heard from Laurent and the EIT, we're making some pretty good progress, but actually you get into a lot of details about how to do this in practice and how to align over time. So I think that would be the other takeaway from me. I think we need to get down to the work to see how this fast track can work between the Eurostars and the EIC. Very happy to do it our side. And actually for me, this is the first time we've had this discussion on the fast track from Eurostars. So I think that would be the other thing that we can really follow up on. So thanks so much. I'll pass back to you, Rita, to thanks so much for the organization of all this. It's been a great session, and thanks to everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Keith. Thank you so much for your attendance. And yes, don't forget, the Eurostars cutoff is on the 15th of September. And InnoWide will be launched on the second semester. Do we have a 5th of September for InnoWide? So don't forget that as well. 6th of October for the EIC. So we hope we have encouraged a lot of our SMEs to apply to these programs. Please, let's hope that they contact the NCPs and the NPCs of Eureka. And now we want to invite you all to network outside. We will have coffee and cookies, and let's continue our discussions. Okay? Thank you so much. Bye-bye. And Angelo, you can always call me Mom.